Thank you everyone for joining us here. Troy Mixon here from CINC, and I've got my great friends Josh Cunningham, all the way in Texas. Also client friend Brad Thomas in Virginia. Roanoke, right? Is that
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
what I always go college football, so I got my teams with you and Josh with Virginia Tech, Texas Tech, right? I mean Texas
Yeah.
A&M. I always say Texas Tech, y'all.
About 45 minutes for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty close
okay.
by.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Since you're one of the clients who actually use both of our systems, we were going to kind of let you just give a quick little speech. I know that using our systems, you're out on the road working, so we appreciate you taking 10 minutes of your time to kind of share that and kind of let us know what's your real estate experience been like working with us.
Yeah. And again, I think I was telling you a minute ago, I don't know exactly how long I've been with both of y'all, but it's been a long time.
Yes, sir.
And and for me to even be able to like do a call like this, I don't have to worry about, the calls or leads that are coming through my website. They are being followed up on right now.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of things that I can do to bring more leads to our business, expand my business, or other things that I'm doing. I don't have to focus on, hey, is this lead getting followed up on? I've through the years, I've had in-house ISAs. I've had other companies that have called for me. Um, these two together have been by far the best for me and for my team. I don't have to worry about a thing. It's really streamlined the process all the way around. So,
Awesome. Awesome.
That's
Appreciate
that's
it.
great to hear. I know that Brad, we've been working together for almost 2.5 years.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I know you've been a Sync client for even longer than that. What were some of the frustrations you were facing that caused you to reach out to us and seek out this solution so you could kind of free up your time and close some more deals?
Um, well, I think at that point I was seriously thinking about going back to an in-house ISA. The issue I had with the other company is they would promise a lot of things and they just weren't delivering. So my thought was to try to keep it more localized. And I never would think that somebody from out of town could really talk to people coming to our area like I would, or one of my agents would. But I was completely wrong with that. Once I gave y'all a try, they do a great job of, getting good information that is sent to me through the website, and then actually getting them over to us. A lot of the times, sometimes we have follow ups with them as well. But it takes a lot away from my buyers agents to have to like, be worried about, hey, are we following up with this lead within 5 minutes, or speed to lead? It takes care of that for you. And there's a lot to be said for just having that peace of mind. You can't buy that. So yeah, it's been a huge help.
I was just gonna say I love to hear some of the language there about peace of mind, freeing up your time. Just talking about right now you're out about to head into an appointment and you don't have to worry. These are the types of things that, like you said, you can't put a dollar sign on. That's the
Exactly.
peace of mind, the intangible things in business. And as business owners every day we're running around from putting out fire, one fire and the next fire. And so it's nice having some consistency and some certainty in your business. One last thing I'd love for you to share just before you hop off here is about the live transfer, because that's something that we've put a huge emphasis on recently, is getting you on the phone as quickly as possible with these hot leads. So kind of talk to me about how that was been working out for you and your team.
Yeah, it's been great. When I get those coming through, I know, which calls are that, because it gives you three different options. I may be busy heading into an appointment, so a lot of times I'll let my buyer's agents take those. But I may know that they're busy, so sometimes I take those. But those come directly to me. It's a smooth transition. And again, it's like makes it a lot more personable. Even though it's somebody not like from our area or whatever, they're getting them over to me. So if people have more specific questions, then I'm able, or one of my buyer's agents are able to answer those questions. And a lot more likelihood of locking that lead in, whether it's a
Hmm.
buyer or seller. It's worked out very well for us.
I guess last thing here would just be any tips or advice you'd have for any of the other members in the sync community, people who are generating online leads and they've got, all these registrations and what to do with them. I mean, what would you recommend to someone who's maybe thinking about looking at some options to free up their time and close more deals?
Well, a big hump for me to get over was like the cost of things. And when you really start looking at things, you're like, oh man, you're going to be spending X amount for this. But in reality, again, you get the peace of mind. But, a lot of times you're looking at, you make one deal, you're covering your bases already, and you kind of go from there. Whereas if you're trying to follow up yourself or your buyer's agents when they're out showing property, you're going to lose a lot more leads than you're going to gain that money back. So, it's my advice would be, really look at your return on investment. Because that's an important thing when you're looking at a marketing plan. Do more of what's uh, working and take away what's not. And for us, again, that our base is off of these two companies. And again, they've been very good to me all the way around. So
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. Alvaro's favorite saying is he loves to say, "Let's make profits cool again." So
that's
he's been
right.
saying that for about 2 years straight.
That's
Well,
right.
thank you. Well, thank you, Brad. We'll let you go because we know you're out showing, and we super appreciate you taking the time to speak with everyone. And yeah, man. Thanks for being a client of both of ours, and I'm sure we'll be hearing
Yeah.
from you soon.
Good luck to everybody. Happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. Always a
All
pleasure.
right, man. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks. See you.
Yes. So Josh, I would love your opinion on we've known each other now what since 2012, 2013, something around that range.
Yeah.
What is it because like myself, you've been in many systems, right? Whether
Hmm.
it be, competitor A, B, C, D. What is it when you are talking to an account and you haven't worked with them? Like, what is it that you kind of see first off that maybe if someone is using our CRM, right,
Hmm.
and they don't, use you guys, what's something that they should be doing right away that even if they don't use you, that it's like a tip of, hey, when I see accounts, they're not doing these two things, or, you know,
Yeah, I think kind of one of the most important things and really kind of a misconception in the industry is like the customer journey, right? People just use this language like lead, and to me that's so dehumanizing, that's so deep, unpersonal. But
yeah,
these are real life human beings, on planet Earth. They got moms and dads and brothers and sisters and kids, and there's a story behind that. And so as you're collecting, all these names and phone numbers and email addresses, you really have to peel back the layers to figure out what's going on in this person's life, because a lot of these leads, are a little bit further out in the funnel because they're just landing on your website and looking at pictures of homes, and they go click on a couple pictures and then the website, forces them to register. And
yeah,
so you're going to cast a wider net, you're going to generate more leads, which is a good asset for your business to have long term, because
yeah,
these are permission based leads. Like when they go to the website and they click, I agree to the terms and conditions, that says I'm giving you permission to stay in touch with me. And so a lot of
yeah,
people feel like, oh, I've got all these leads and they're just magically going to fax me over an offer that I need to submit on this
yeah,
home. That's not the case. These are
yeah,
real life human beings. What you're doing is you're getting permission to stay in touch with them. And so that's the number one thing that you got to do is you got to get in touch with these people. And so, at Rockerbox, our fundamental form of media, our best form of conversion is the good old fashioned phone call. And
yeah,
yes, there's email campaigns. Yes, there's text campaigns. I know you guys have a very powerful AI texting tool. But really, this is it's still a contact sport. It's about human to human interaction, about assessing what people's needs and motivation and desires are, and figuring out how you can help them, fill those puzzle pieces in. So it's really about the number at the end of the day, the number of not leads that you're generating, but the number of meaningful conversations that you're having. That's the most important thing. So if you're not doing anything, with these leads, if you haven't hired an ISA or you're not thinking about hiring an ISA, you yourself just at least need to take some personal responsibility into how many meaningful conversations am I committed to having each and every day? And obviously, not everybody picks up the phone and not everybody responds to your text and not everybody responds to your email. So you just got to keep putting in the effort to reach that target. And so that to me, I think is probably one of the biggest misconceptions is I'm just going to, write a couple checks and then people are just going to start docu-signing, offers for me. But it's just, this is an opportunity. This is a door that's opening for you to then engage with people and start having those meaningful conversations. The more dials, the more meaningful conversations, the more appointments you're going to set, the more closings you're going to have. It's a very simple numbers game. So that would be the
Yeah,
first challenge to everybody in the audience today.
I like that. That's one of the things I liked when I was, at one of our competitors for so long. The thing that I was shocked by was going through the interview process here. They talked about our real verified leads, right? And I know even now, some clients might not have it turned on. I always recommend to turn it on because it was amazing to me that folks verified their phone number, right? Like it
Hmm.
was like I'm like, and that was a big deal. We weren't talking about it, and I'm like, we've almost conditioned now. I can't tell you how many times I'm on an app where like HBO and I'm like, hey, my app needs to verify me, right? And we're so conditioned to doing it that, the numbers in which our folks were getting that number, the real number for that client was it baffled me. Like I was like, huh, like this is how come no other folks are doing this. Uh so it's interesting to go there. Now, when you are stepping in and helping folks that have either come from Sync or using other systems that are that all-in-one marketing solution, the front end website, CRM tied in to speak with one another. Do you guys work purely off the new leads? You help them with their database of leads, like someone like Dan, like I'm sure being a Sync client for 3+ years, like his like how would you help with nurture those leads, or is it mainly new leads you guys focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So, we've worked with small teams, we've worked with large teams, we've worked with individual agents and large brokerages. And I can tell you that the number one thing keeping people from reaching the production levels that they're after, their goals that they set, is speed to lead and follow up. And so that's a focus on the new activity. And I say that just because, we've been in business since 2013. We've handled over 3 million internet leads and we've hired and trained over 400 inside sales assistants and we've tracked everything that we've done. And being a student of your results, right, not just your actions but a student of your results, shows you what's the highest and best use of your time. And we actually did an analysis last year. We took all of our decades worth of data and looked at it on all the different strategies that we were deploying on these leads, and 89% of our results came from two strategies: speed to lead, right, calling the lead
Yeah.
right away, and then
Yep.
the initial follow-up. And so this last year, we actually completely re-engineered our tech stack so that we could focus on flawlessly executing those two most important steps. It's like the old Pareto principle, right? 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. And so for us, our bread and butter is focusing on that speed to lead and that initial follow-up, because that is the most difficult thing for agents out in the field to emulate, because leads come in at all hours of the day. And it's a bit of a disconnection to expect an agent who's maybe sitting in a listing presentation, or maybe they've got their buyers in the car and they're going out and showing property. It's kind of a bit of a disconnection to say, hey, I expect you to drop what you're doing, excuse yourself from the listing
Yeah.
presentation to go call this lead right now. So it's just
Yeah.
it's just not possible for agents to consistently, no matter how much they want to, but to consistently execute that strategy. And so speed to leads number one, right? Calling the lead within 5 minutes or less. Our standard now is actually about 20 to 30 seconds that we're calling these
Okay.
leads. And then after that, if they don't answer, right, we know that something happened in this person's life. Again, these are people. These aren't just leads. These are real life human beings. Something happened in their life that triggered an emotion that caused them to seek out answers to the questions that they had. And where do we look for answers for all of our questions? We go online, we go to Google. So whether it was they just found out they're pregnant, or they got a new job offer, or maybe they got laid off, right? Or maybe they
Yeah.
are excited about moving across country. Something happened in their life that said, I wonder how much homes in blank cost, or I wonder how much that home across the street is listed for. And so these questions then inspire people to go online, to click on your website and to fill out the form and to start finding answers to those questions. So if they don't answer the first time around, we're going to make a relentless number of attempts. 7 attempts within the first week is when we're calling on these leads to make that first initial conversation. And again, 89% of our results came from just those 2 strategies alone. So we do still have strategies to call on people's old database, and
Yep.
to retarget people that are visiting the website. Those just aren't as fruitful of a return on, the amount of time we invest in it versus the amount of time that we get from it. So if there's just 1 or 2 things that you should be doing with the leads, it's making sure that you're calling them right away, and then call them relentlessly within the first week after that registration. So when most clients do come to us, CINC's been around a long time, and a lot of our clients come to us with 5, 10, 20, 40,000 leads in their database. We do also
Yeah.
have strategies to be able to call on some of those older leads in the database. It's just not as high of a return of an investment of our time that we spend on those leads. But a lot of times we'll throw in some bonuses if you're interested in, learning, exploring more about how Rockerbox can help you out. We've always got some promos and some bonuses, and a lot of times we, focus some extra efforts on those older leads because people very much value the leads that you've already invested in that are just sitting there collecting dust on the shelf. So those are what we call a data mining project, where we kind of call into the old database. But ultimately, the long-term strategy that you want to make sure that you have in place to protect all the marketing dollars that you're investing in this is that speed to lead and that follow-up. You've got to make sure that you're doing that. If you're not doing that, you're flushing a lot of money down the drain.
Yeah, no, I like it. And with the services too, so I know Cynthia was asking about kind of like what is sync. We're happy to follow up and go over everything, like have an individual consultation call with both of our companies for you, Cynthia, to kind of go over exactly the little things of what each one provide to you. I appreciate it, Waylon. My boy. I would think, I've known you for so long, and I love like how you've had to change with the industry, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen, from leads barely coming in, leads not coming in. Like what is for sync folks right now, like AI, like how many of them do you know that are using AI that are with you guys? So I think y'all have about 30 clients or so. Is that about right?
Yeah,
That are
that are on Commissions Inc. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
close to about 40 clients that are using Commissions Inc. and using us as well.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I believe most of them use the AI texting tool. And
Okay.
then when we re-engineered our tech stack last year, that was another focus that we had is,
Okay.
why don't we figure out ways to eliminate as many things that a person has to do, but then enhance that person doing that work and reward
Yeah.
them as much as we possibly can. So when we rebuilt our tech stack last year, we actually eliminated 50 to 60% of the steps in the process that were a manual, like delivered process. So
Hmm.
now we actually don't need as many employees on the team. So we were actually able to give all of our callers raises because we
Okay.
eliminated the number of things that they had to do. So we were able to raise our standards, raise our hiring standards, raise our,
Yeah.
our execution standards, and then reward our team even more. And so we're able to pour more into them with training on, scripts and dialogues, objection handlers, tonality, rebuttals and questions and all sorts of things to help deliver the highest quality call. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And the tonality is funny because the text, it just, I instantly was on a call earlier this week with our engineer team where one of the folks, they were showing the AI conversations, right?
Uh-huh.
And they were giving Netflix recommendations. Like, you can see that the person had no idea that it was, AI that was having that conversation. Even
Hmm.
I know I shared with you last week. I'm in Charleston. For those of you who don't know me and the accent, that's where it comes from. But Charleston, South Carolina. But it's we just sold the largest house. We were the buy side for the largest house for our client here in Charleston, where our digital marketing team did a great job of, geolocating, targeting the lead coming in, right? But AI and themselves, the agent, were right on it, like you said, right? Like right when it came in, AI was in their inbox. They were coming to town. Person called them immediately when they wanted to the next morning. The client, boom,
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
got a $22 million transaction just like that, just for being prompt, readiness, professional. Uh, and it sounds like it's nothing new, right? Like sometimes we sit here and it's like, we're not reinventing the wheel. Like the same thing that has been said from when we both started in the industry, many moons ago. But it's good to sometimes kind of react that. But also, is there ever times you have to change things um, within your kind of like a client like Brad in Virginia and another client in Florida? Like, do you ever find that maybe the target market for them requires certain tweaks of the system, or is it kind of a all no, it's a good rinse repeat. We don't really have to change too much. Does
Yeah.
that make
Good.
sense?
Yeah, good question. So I'm gonna go into our script here, but before I do
Yeah.
that, I just saw a couple questions here. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes, we do work in Canada. And then the live transfers is something that we do. We're calling the leads and then we live transfer the hot ones. That's what Brad was referring to. We call all
Yeah.
his leads, and then when we find that someone is actually hot and active and ready to go, we click a button and it live transfers it over to Brad and his team. That's kind of how that works. I think that's most of the questions that I saw here that I wanted to answer. But the script, so what makes what we do so universal that allows us to work in Canada? We've got clients in Hawaii, Alaska, all 50 states, and we have zero local market knowledge. And the reason why we're able to scale this is because we keep the conversation not about real estate, which is what a lot of agents immediately assume. They're like, I'm going to jump on the phone here and I'm going to share my local market knowledge and expertise, and that's going to win them over. And that's totally fine. You do need to do that when you're in that position where you're speaking with a hot and motivated lead. What we're doing is we're calling all of the leads to find those motivated people for you. And so the script that we use, there's an acronym that I created a long time ago. We call ourselves the Client Care Department, and our script is CARE. It's contact, ask questions, recommend, and encourage. And Troy, I know you've been in sales most of your career, but that's a very simple 4-step formula that you can use to craft up any type of conversation. Contact is introducing yourself, stating the point of the call. You're
Yeah.
asking questions, right? We want to find out time frame. We want to find out motivation. We want to find out if they have a home that they need to sell. That's the easiest way to find a
Yeah.
seller lead online, is to capture a buyer lead and to say, hey, do you need
Yeah.
to sell your
That's
home?
yeah.
Most people forget that question and miss out on half the commission. Do they have a lender, right? Have they already gotten pre-qualified, or would they like to speak with our preferred lender on the team? Most of our clients
Mm.
have a preferred lender that sometimes, chips in on the marketing cost as well. And then essentially making sure that they haven't been even if they've worked with a real estate agent, making sure that they haven't signed anything that contractually obligates them to that agent. Obviously things have changed, like you mentioned, in the last year, but we just always ask that question, make sure that they're not contractually obligated to another real estate agent. So I can ask that question whether it's South Dakota or South Carolina or South
Yeah.
Florida. And so that's essentially what we do, is we train our callers to have a conversation with people about people, not necessarily about real estate and local market knowledge and that type of thing. And so once they basically pass the test of their 90 days or less, they want to buy a home, they don't have an agent, we say, hey, you know what? I've got an expert that's excellent at working with buyers just like you. Let me put you on a brief hold and I'll get them on the line. And then we click a button, it rings out to the team and the agents. And then whichever agent picks up first, we say, hey, Troy, it's Josh from Rockerbox. I got a lead on the line. Let me
Yeah.
get your name so I can introduce you properly. And then we click back over and we do a three-way call. So that way we can transfer that trust and that rapport that we've built with the lead, through our 3 to 5 minute conversation. And we could say, hey, Mr. Buyer, this is my partner, Troy, I was telling you about. He's an expert in the area. I'm going to let you take it from here. And then we back out of the call. And then now you step up to the plate and shine. So
Cool. Love
yes,
it.
that's kind of how
Love
we
it.
scaled this solution for so long, is just keeping a very consistent phone call from coast to coast, no matter what market.
Yeah, and I see Stacy asked, like, "What is Rockerbox?" I did not do a good job of introducing. I think with me knowing you for so long, I forget that there might be some folks that if they're in our community, they might not have heard of you guys before. But what would be your elevator pitch? Because I don't want to just say ISA. I always think of you as an ISA guru, so I hope
Yeah.
you know that. But what would be, kind of your overview, quick? Hey, this is what Rockerbox does.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of give you a quick 60-second story on how it
Yeah.
came about. So back in 2011, I was working with Frank Klesitz of Viral Marketing. For those of you who aren't familiar with viral marketing, we taught agents to shoot content and make YouTube videos and Facebook pages back in 2011. So I know
Yeah.
that sounds kind of like a no-brainer these days, but we were a little bit ahead of the curve. And so in order to sell this service to all the top producing agents in the industry, we had to go to all these events and meet people face to
Yeah.
face. So we were literally traveling the country, going to like 2 or 3 different events a month, that's
Yep.
how we obviously cross
Yeah.
paths, and then we'd see each other at every event that we were going at every month. And I had a client at the time who was generating online leads, and she faced a lot of the frustration that most people do. Hey, I'm buying all these leads, agents aren't following up with it. And I was like, oh, there's this new thing called an ISA. And this is back in 2013. Really, the only solution out there was you got to go hire someone in the Philippines and train them yourself and pay them $3 an hour and hope that they do a good job. And so that created a lot of headache for people. And so I thought, well, you need to hire an ISA. And she said, this is Spring Benson out of Salt Lake City, Utah, for those of you who don't know. And she said, well, Josh, why don't I just hire you and you can help me do
Yeah.
this? And so I literally hopped on a plane, bought a one-way ticket, flew to Utah, lived in her unfinished basement for 2 months, and showed up to work with her every day. And we're like, we're going to figure this ISA thing out. And so our initial attempt was we hired an in-house ISA. Of course, Spring committed a pretty hefty salary with benefits, paid time off, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 gig, with commissions on top of that. But what we did was we implemented all the hypothetical models and strategies of what you're supposed to be doing with these leads. And so after working with the team for 2 months, I thought of it as sort of a consulting gig. And so Spring said, hey, thanks for your help. Here's a consulting check. I thought, well, I'll go find someone else to help with this similar problem. Within about 2 weeks, I get a phone call from Spring. She said, hey, Josh, I got good news and bad news. I'm like, all right, let's hear it. She says, the good news is it works, right? Like giving the leads to one person who can focus on all this follow up as the first step. It guarantees that the calls are getting made. It guarantees that the leads are being qualified. And then when we give them the agents, now I can just hold my agents accountable to handle a few leads versus like this giant pile of registrations. And I was like, well, what's the bad news? She's like, well, Carly, the ISA, just marched into my office, said, Spring, I just signed up for real estate classes. I want to be an agent now.
Oh,
And
of
so
course.
here we were back at square one. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I
Yeah.
feel guilty now, like cashing this, consulting check. And then we're literally back at square one. And so that's when it kind of hit me. And I was more determined than ever to really create a permanent turnkey, done for you inside sales assistant job, or role or solution. And my idea, the hallucination at the time was, why don't I just go back to Aggie Land? That's right, Troy, Aggie
Yeah.
Land, College Station, Texas A&M, and I'll just hire a bunch of bright and enthusiastic, college-educated, U.S.-born students to make these calls for all these agents. And so that was the idea back in 2013. Since then, we've handled over 3 million internet leads. We've hired and trained over 400 inside sales assistants. And we've worked for hundreds of real estate teams all across the country and helped them close hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions. So ultimately, the problem that we solve is that we call your leads so you don't have to, and that's going to free up your time and help you close more deals. So that's the elevator pitch with the little background story
Love it.
behind it. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Thanks, Stacy, for asking that, and shame on me for not getting into how Josh started. Well, appreciate you sharing that, and all your folks, just they all know sync and they're in it just as probably much as these agents. So that's always something to remind folks they're not having to learn something they don't understand. With our clients that we have with each other, and continuing to grow. Um, what would be some other maybe ahas that you've gotten? I know sometimes you might get folks where they're like loving their platform that they're on, and they're like, hey, I always make the comparison that I had one person be like, hey, I closed these 3 deals, I love you guys, and then you look at their system and there's also 6 leads they didn't follow up with, that you're like, okay, you closed 3, but could you have closed more? Like, what are some moments where you kind of maximize someone's ROI but also let them hurdles that they have to come over? Like, besides just calling the lead, I don't know if it's system setup, which I guess might be on our side. We can have a call later for some, folks want some training with our account managers, et cetera. But any kind of caveats to that where they're maybe not setting up their AI to make those follow-ups for leads y'all aren't paying attention to, or any of that y'all see with the system, or
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest transformations that most teams go through when they implement Rockerbox is, prior to us, they've had all these leads coming in. They give them to the agents, and you expect someone who works on commission that they're going to have the grit and the determination to go out there and close every single one possible. But,
Yeah.
the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And what we know about real estate agents is it's kind of hard managing a team sometime with a bunch of 1099, independent contractor agents and
Sure.
getting them to do what's expected of you. And so what a lot of our clients love is that they've been able to kind of own that piece of the business where they know you're responsible for the ad spend, you're responsible for the tech spend. And so, the success of that all depends on whether or not someone's going to pick up a phone and make that call. So it's not a question about whether or not you need to be doing it. The question is, who are you going to rely on each and every day to execute it at a high level? And so what a lot of times happens is these clients come on board, we start making these initial phone calls. So it really clears a lot of work off of the plate of these agents and creates a lot of leverage for the team owner. And so the next question is, well, now what do we do with our time? Right. And
Yeah.
so you as a team leader probably been using this as a recruiting tool to say, hey, come join my team. I got a website, I got leads. I've even got a department that calls these leads and live transfers them over to you. And so now what you have to do is challenge yourself to say, well, what are you going to now do with all this free time? Are you going to start hosting some open houses? Are you going to work your database a little bit harder? Are you going to do some circle prospecting or some door knocking? Like, what other lead gen sources are you now as the agent going to bring to the table with
Yeah.
all this time that you're freeing up? And then the
Yeah.
other thing is too, sometimes teams will take a little bit more of the commission from the agent saying, hey, I know you don't like making all these calls, all these leads. Would it be a benefit to you if we just hired this team and made sure that they were guaranteed, calling all the leads? And for that, we'll just kind of split the costs on it. And so they'll basically take out a little bit more in the split, so that they can sort of fund this program. But at the end of the day, all said and done, you wind up with more closings, and so does the agent, and then everybody, has more profits. Like you said, make profits.
Yeah.
Was it cool again or fun
Cool
again?
again.
Cool
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
I think you said that's cool again. And Robert, yeah. So we realized just a couple weeks ago when me and Josh connected that we had so many clients in common, and it's the list seemed to be growing. So I thought, hey, why not? If you look, one of the most talked about things in our community was ISAs, right? Like it's like people ask about like either what they're doing, what they're kind of getting within their team, where they're outsourcing or using internal, et cetera. So I figured, why not have a guy who's been over 13, 14 years come speak with, some of our clients, maybe some prospects, just so that, he could share his nuggets and also, what they do for clients, but also maybe some things that you guys could take and implement today within your system. Any certain so I don't want to, if this is secret sauce, by all means, you can tell me no. But is there, when we share the recording, is there any like maybe script we can share with folks that they
Yeah.
could use no matter what? Like just as like a, hey, thank you guys for coming. And maybe one or two things that we might could share with them when we send that information out. Or again, I
Yeah.
don't want to put you on the spot, Josh. So you can be like, hey, Troy, you're asking, you know, the Say by the Bell reference of the screech and the secret sauce. The secret is mine. but uh I know folks a lot of times will either they get nervous on the phone and they don't necessarily enjoy that part, or they don't know what to say really, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then that just something as simple as kind of having a script to practice or some role play practicing
Yeah.
can go a long way.
So I'll tell you a couple things right now. So when people are talking about ISA and really solving this problem, want you to think about it in two different departments. There's inbound and there's outbound. So a lot of the teams that we work still have ISAs that focus on outbound, because outbound is all about productivity, right? Dials, contacts, conversations, appointments, and you can make these types of calls any time of day that you want to, right? In the mornings, in the afternoons, in the evenings, on the weekends. You could hire someone part time. You could hire a couple people full time. Whatever you want to do for the outbound prospecting, it's a completely different game. What we're
Yeah.
focusing on here is the inbound, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know when these leads are going to come in. You can't say, hey, Troy, I want to get, leads from 3 to 4 p.m. every afternoon. I'll be sitting by my
Yeah.
desk waiting for them to come in. That's just not
Yeah.
how the AdWord campaigns work. So for
Yeah.
the inbound, it's all about availability. And that's why we are such a good match for a lot of our clients, because they don't have the availability to call every single one of these leads as they're coming in,
Mhm.
within 5 minutes or less. Again, I say 5 minutes or less. That used to be the golden standard. We're now
Yeah.
executing in about 20 or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the two different departments that I want you to think about. But on top of
Cool.
that, I'm going to give you an objection handler, a number one objection handler that opens up about 55% of our conversations. And that is basically these people register on your website, you give them a call right away, and they go, oh my gosh, that was fast. I was just looking, right? It's the I'm just looking reflex. Like
Yep.
this is the reflex objection that has all been programmed into us from generations of people going shopping. How many times have you been to you go to the mall because you're looking for a new pair of shoes, and you walk into the shoe store, and the associate walks up to you, goes, hey, what can I help you find today? And what do you say? Oh, I'm just looking.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes later, you're like, do you have these in a 9? And
Yeah.
so it's very much a reflex now that we've been programmed through all of our experiences in life and customer service and sales. And so a really great rebuttal, this is our number one objection handle that we use all the time, is when they tell us, oh, hey, I'm just looking, instead of trying to disagree with them or tell them that they're wrong, or force them onto the phone even longer, you say, oh yeah, our website is a fantastic resource for you to look at. It provides you all the latest listings, all the latest prices, and we keep it updated regularly. So tell me, what are you looking for in a new home? And so that one objection handler is the most common
Yeah.
used here. Whereas most people, if you're nervous about getting on the phone, you're a little reluctant, you're a little afraid of that rejection, you hear that I'm just looking, and you go, oh my gosh, okay, I'll let you go,
I'll let
hang
you
up.
go.
And
Yeah.
then you start to buy into the negative, mindset of like, oh my gosh, nobody here is serious. Nobody's actually want anything. Everybody's just looking. People are just kicking tires. But using that one simple objection handler will open up a ton of
Yeah.
conversations for you. So remember, I'm just looking. Oh yeah, it's great. Our website's a fantastic resource for you to look at, because think about it. Think
Yeah.
about the money you've poured into this website. I mean, these are
Yeah.
phenomenal home search websites. They don't come for free. Nothing in life is
Yeah.
free.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you've
Great
provided it.
websites, Josh. They are great websites with
Yeah.
amazing CR.
Yeah, I mean, you provided this website for them. It's a
Yeah.
service that you're providing to your local real estate community.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with inviting people to come in and take a look at it. And then when they do come in, I mean, just imagine you're operating a brick and mortar retail store where you sell homes, and people are walking in your front door. I mean, even Walmart has a greeter at the front door, right? The
Yeah. Yeah.
the the
Yeah.
lowest level of customer experience, they even have a greeter at their front door. So you've got
Yeah.
this virtual, store that people are coming in, they're shopping for homes. You've provided this, you paid for it. People are walking in, you say, "Hey, how can I help you?" And they go, "Oh, I'm just looking." So yeah, this is a great
I
resource for
like
you to look at.
I like that, Josh. I appreciate you sharing that with everyone.
Yeah.
And I've only heard one thing like it. It was actually for leads who had been in the system if they got them
Hmm.
on the phone. And it was something along the lines of, "Hey, while I have you, with our website, you can do all these things with your searches. You had signed up for this. Is that still the case? Is there any tweaks you would like for me to make on your behalf within the website?" Like kind of
Hmm.
using that same like as a service, right? Like this is
Hmm.
a relationship business. So many times we've heard, when the instant offer started to get popular, what, 6 years ago or so, and everybody's like, well, they're gonna try to cut the agent out. Like the agent's always gonna be there. Like it's a
Hmm.
relationship business.
Hmm.
So have your technology not replace anything you do, but help it enhance what you do. Like I appreciate you sharing that. I like now I'm trying to think of what other little nugget I can get out of
Yeah, but I'd be happy to provide you a copy of our script,
Yeah,
as well as that objection handle. That's our number one objection handler. Another tool that I have for you, and this is comes near and dear from my heart, and this is special
yeah,
for anybody who attends today. Um, I say that there's really three keys to our success. One is making sure we've really got really good talent to make these phone calls. And like Troy had mentioned earlier, we're based in College Station, Texas. We hire students from Texas A&M to make these phone calls. The system that you're following, again, we're calling them right away. We've re-engineered our tech stack, so we're calling them within 20 to 30 seconds of registration, and then 7 times in the first week. That's the best system to follow to get the highest conversion. But the third thing is really our culture, right? I bring it up
yep,
last,
yep,
but it really is the most important thing. It's the foundation for everything we build on. It's the foundation for improving our systems. It's the foundation for investing in our talent. And we're a purpose-driven organization. We say our purpose is to move people forward. It's very obvious that we're moving people forward through the sales pipeline, by calling all these leads and warming them up and passing them off. The teams that we work with, they absolutely love it because it helps them move their lives forward. It frees up their time, helps them close more deals. And then here internally, like I said, we've hired over 400 students from the university, and this experience gives them, a fast track in their young professional career. And
yep,
so culture is something that's incredibly, that I'm incredibly passionate about. So it's incredibly important to our organization, because how else for the last 12 years have we taken the work that real estate agents didn't want to do, and we
yeah,
hired a generation of talent that doesn't stereotypically have a good
Yeah,
reputation
yeah.
for being hard
I was
workers.
thinking it. Yeah,
Yeah, and we made
yeah.
it
I was
work.
thinking it. Yeah.
Exactly. And the way that we made it work was by having a meaningful, what I call 5-star company culture. And in fact, I just wrote a book, released it this year. It's called Culture is the Key: How to Unlock Massive Profits and Freedom. And Troy, I'm willing to give anybody who wants to reach out to me, I'll put a copy of this in the mail for you. It normally retails for $20 on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, but I'll put a copy in the mail for you just for attending today
Oh, I
and reaching
appreciate
out
that,
to us.
brother.
That's my gift to you. But in this book, there's 23 chapters. There's interviews that I did with 23 different entrepreneurs, business leaders, influencers. There's a lot of people in real estate, but there's also a diverse group of business leaders in here that'll give you some insights as to how all these business leaders have used culture as the
Yep.
foundation to grow their organization on. So a lot of good tidbits in there, a lot of good challenges to reflect, and then some good action items and easy to understand and digest content for you. So if you want a copy
Yeah.
of
Oh,
that,
dude,
you can.
that's super kind. That's super kind, and greatly appreciate that, Josh. Like for
Yeah.
me and Waylon, when we've talked about this before, Waylon's on the call. Like, I've been here about 8 months now, and hoping that to even change that within our clients, right? Like I want us to be looked at as your true partner, right? Like we're here with you. We're a part of your business, not just a vendor. Like that's you talk about the database and lead comment, right? Like,
Hmm.
a lead and they're real people. Like I hate, how many shows over the years we go to and like, oh, they're just the vendor, they're the vendor, and it's like,
Hmm.
no, we want to be a part of your business itself, like as the client, much less within the company
Hmm.
of Sync itself. So that was very kind, and greatly appreciate that, brother. You
Yeah.
might, you're gonna end up getting me to read a book. My wife's gonna be shocked.
Yeah, Wendy, Douglas, Greg, Stacy, Courtney, Waylon, just shoot me an email, josh@rockerbox, and it's spelled a little strange, ROKRBOX. Is that backwards? Is that forwards? Can you read it?
Um, let's
I don't know.
see.
ROKRBOX. Yeah, shoot me an email, josh@rockerbox.com with your physical mailing address, and I'll put one in the mail for you. Yeah, love to share the knowledge.
Oh, cool. Well, I think that's really all I had for today. Oh, one last thing. So Gary asked a good question about any advice for the after work hours. He runs into the 8 to 8 a.m. the next day. Do they work around the clock? That's one of his biggest challenge. Great question, Gary.
Yeah, so we're Central Time and we're in the office Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then we come in on the weekends, 11 to 5. And then we celebrate most of the national holidays. We do have a soul. We are Americans and celebrate some holidays. So,
Yeah.
but when leads come in, when we're not in the office, we just call them first thing the next morning. The thing is with some of those overnight leads, I mean, you really know not aren't certain. Like I said, these are all people. They all have lives. They all have different paths that they're walking. So maybe they do work nights and sleep during the day, and so maybe it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get a hold of them. But ultimately, you want to make those calls during your office hours because that's going to give us the best chance of live transferring them over to an agent. But then that's where text and email sometimes can be a little bit more helpful if someone truly does just have a flip flop schedule where they're up all night and they can't communicate
Yeah.
during the
And
day.
yeah, and I'll just add too, like, you have Sync's, AI that has been doing wonders for clients where, make sure that if you've got that turned on, because I believe you can even control, I don't know if it's by time or lead source, but um make sure that because that's what it's there for, right? It can respond. And I had one client tell me that the prospect knew it was AI and tried to trick it, but then enjoyed having the conversation so much. She was like, yeah. So then when I called him, he was like, actually, it was like having Google, but making jokes for me. And then he told, so he was the prospect for the agent. The agent said that she was like, I don't know if I knew all the questions that she asked him, like that were about the house and about like the area. So it was
Mm,
it was kind of unique to see. She's like, I would have had to go find it, which might have took an
hmm.
extra 10 minutes or so. But if it was like an after hours thing, but something that if you haven't used or played around with, our product team, Jeff and our head of product's been doing wonders with the updates and making sure that it's the best
Yeah,
best
that's
in the
such a
biz.
it's such a hot topic right now, AI. And and
Yeah,
and, and here,
yeah.
here's just an experience share from our perspective is like anytime as you're growing your business and you're looking to you're looking to do new things or you're looking to delegate tasks, like it's
Mm,
always great if you're doing something first to then be able to delegate that task. So that's, for years and years and years, you could
Hmm.
text leads, and then now AI can text the leads for you. For us, what we're doing, we just built an AI tool for really two primary purposes. It was something we were already doing, but now we found a tool that could help create more efficiencies and free up our time so we can, reward our human labor more. One of them is note
Yeah.
taking. So we used to,
Yeah.
while we were on the phone, be listening to someone, typing on the
Uh,
notes, asking the next question, listening to understand,
yep.
right? And then typing the notes. And then you'd get off the phone, and sometimes you had this just jumbled mess of notes, and then you try to organize them before we send them over to the client. So we built an AI tool to do that for us, right? So it's something that
Cool.
we already had familiarity doing, but we thought, hey, maybe this could make our work more efficient if AI listens to our calls and summarizes them and then sends the notes to our clients in a similar fashion each time. So every
Yeah.
time our client gets a text message from us, it looks exactly the same, and they can see all the details of the lead and the conversation that we just had with them. So that's one tool that we've leaned
Yeah.
on with for AI. The second one is, you always want to inspect what you expect, right? And so you're asking people to make these calls. It's not just about, getting on the phone and saying, hey, do you want to buy a home? There's a little bit more depth. There's a little bit more layers in there of the questions that you're asking. Are you listening to understand? Are you overcoming objections? Are you being empathetic and sympathetic with your lead? And so we have what's called a CSE, a customer service evaluation. And it's basically on a score of 0 to 20, all the different things that need to happen throughout the conversation according to our Rockerbox standards. And so in the past, we used to have one of our floor leaders listening in on a headset like this, listening into our
Yeah.
callers with a clipboard in hand and a pen. And they're sitting there and listening to the call, and they're grading it and say, yes, you did this and you can improve on this. And then they'd pull the caller aside and they'd have a coaching conversation about what they did well and what they can improve on. Well, we would, do that sporadically throughout the shift. So a handful of times a day, someone's getting some one-on-one coaching. Well, now we built an AI tool that does that on every single phone call. So on every single phone call, our AI tool now is learning what the Rockerbox expectations and standards are, and it's listening to every single one of our calls and then scoring our team members on how well they delivered
That's
the,
cool.
expectations. So again, it allowed us to increase the number of coaching conversations that we have, while also decreasing the amount of time that it actually took us to create those. So AI note summary, AI call grading on your end, Troy. You've got the AI texting. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a
I was,
buzzword, not to trip
yeah,
over
and
yourself, but
yeah, totally agree. And it's the little things because, like, I don't even know if people realize this because I wrote a post it like 6 months ago on like the spam call. Like, it helps with not getting caught, right? Because you're not sending the same message. Like, you're not
hmm
sending, and of course, it's going to get smarter, and our product's going to continue to innovate to help improve, those interactions. But whether that be the title of an email, the text itself, or like those little things, like we don't talk about enough because we just get so well, what's the computer, genius buzzword AI doing today, right?
yeah,
But something that small, like it can go a long way because
yeah,
now you're at least, like you said, engaging. Because at the end of the day, whether it's you guys handing them off or old leads that AI is trying to rejuvenate, pop back up to the top of the funnel for them to, at the end of the day, it's to get the conversations right. Like it's to get
yeah,
them on the phone, show them that we're people and we're here to serve them.
yeah.
But no,
At
I love it, brother. I love it.
at the end of the day, it all comes down to meaningful conversations.
Yep.
Don't
Yep.
get lost in the buzzwords. A few years ago, I think the word was algorithm, right? Oh, we got an algorithm that blah blah blah. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
this is a
yeah,
simple Google,
yeah,
Excel spreadsheet formula here. This is not
yeah,
an algorithm. Now
yeah,
everybody calls everything AI. It's like, create a spreadsheet and adds column A and column B, and we call it AI.
well,
So
how many times have we been to those shows over the years where it's like, I mean, how many companies have we seen? Oh, come gone, come gone, come gone. So now I'm sure we're gonna probably see more of that
oh
with
yeah,
with
absolutely.
with AI. But that's I only bring that up because I do think it's important. With someone like Rockerbox, well, I'm glad that you're a partner of Sinks is that we both have tried true, been there for clients, like history in the industry, not going anywhere.
hmm
Because I think that's going to be more important than ever, as we continue to make leaps and bounds into the future. But
Yeah, absolutely.
super, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have more stuff with Josh. This won't be our one and only. He's our guy. All I say knowledge and so kind of you to share the I see the the chat with your book and building the culture that you have down in
Yep.
Aggie land. I saw someone get mad about Aggie land. I am a Gamecock, so I don't know if that usually won't make anybody mad. They're probably like, oh, they're they're not very good. So
Hey man, if there's any like just a flavor of like the passion and the perseverance that we have here in Aggieland is just watch an A&M football game on Saturday. We have been historically mediocre for a solid 3 decades now, and we still have 100,000 people in the crowd standing up in 100-degree heat. So that's the type of perseverance and dedication that our callers have. So and then Mike, the origin of the name Rockerbox, it's an old gold mining tool used to separate sand and gravel from gold. So that's what we're doing with your internet leads. We're getting the sand and the gravel out of the way, and we're handing you those golden opportunities.
Well, awesome. Well, we'll be in touch, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll share out the updates in the next day or so, and you'll be hearing more from us.